It must have been about probably 71, maybe 70. I'm bad at dates, but in that kind of time period. And I was a part of the Gay Activists Alliance in New York. And the mayor of New York at that time, John Lindsay, was very much a liberal. But liberals even at that time were people who would quietly try to help, but would never be public. And we knew that it was important for gay rights that it be public, that little quiet shh on the side wasn't sufficient. So we had, the Gay Activists Alliance had a many-month campaign to do that to John Lindsay. And on one of these occasions, it was Gay Pride Week of that year, and we decided to harass him, I think is probably the right word, for that entire week. John Lindsay at that time it was early primary season. John Lindsay was going to run for president. And so he had this big fundraiser at Radio City Music Hall. We were going to do two things. We were going to certainly have pickets outside, loud pickets, shouting, screaming, but we also had managed to get a half dozen or 5 or 6 tickets to the event itself. We were going to do a disruption inside Radio City Music Hall, as well as this demonstration outside. The way this was going to work, it was the world premiere of the film Hot Rocks. So it was in conjunction with that at Radio City Music Hall. So of course, before the film, though, they were going to do speeches. So first out on the stage was a very popular liberal comic, a comedian at the time by the name of Alan King. So he came up to the mic, did a few jokes, and then introduced Mayor John Lindsay. He steps to the side. John Lindsay comes out, steps up to the microphone, and as he begins to speak, not all of us inside, but one person, the first one being, I believe, Cora Parada, stands up and starts yelling, "John Lindsay, what are you going to do about the oppression of gays in New York City?" Of course, there are cops and security people who are going for her immediately to get her out of there. We all had, very popular at the time for some really ridiculous reason, was these handheld sirens, which somehow were supposed to protect you from a mugging or something, right? You could pull the pin on the siren and it would go off. Each of us had one of those. So as they're almost about ready to grab Cora, she pulls the pin, throws the pin in one direction and the siren in another, and of course gets led out of Radio City Music Hall. John Lindsay comes back and starts again. The second person stood up and did the same routine. And there were 4 or 5 of us who were able to do that. It forced John Lindsay off the stage to be replaced by actually a cartoon which was preceding the film that they were showing. So a bunch of our people also wound up being in the balcony. And as we were doing this down below, giving John Lindsay a hard time, they just took a bunch of flyers and went over the seats and raining down from the balcony. I think I remember Radio City Music Hall in particular among a host of other actions that we did, because it just kind of had everything in there. It certainly had a just cause. It had a sense of power in it. It had theatrics in it. It had a certain cleverness in how we did it. When I tell stories about zaps, as we called them, various actions, I think what I'm trying to say is, aside from the fact that it's a lovely memory that I like to remember, what I'm trying to say is that we had there's a great deal of fun in standing up for yourself. For any of the issues today, whether it's LGBT rights or others, do it. It sets up your life in a way that you will enjoy and be proud of. So get out there and do it.